He thought he'd better check up on things, just in case. Maybe some animal was trapped in there, something like that. So he opened the door, shined his flashlight in there, and here was this man, really respected in the community, always working hard, never even drunk. Well, there he was, with this big fat woman, and she was married too and had 12 kids. And there they were in the middle of winter with no clothes on. And this poor man who found them, he didn't know what to say. So he closed the door again, and he went back home, and he even forgot he had to go to the toilet. So down at Masita, they were laughing too, and they always have to say, that guy sure was taking a chance messing around with a woman as big as her. All she'd have to do is roll over on him, and that would be the end. I was always given to feel, and it was by people like Anthros, to feel that to be a worthy human being, if you were coming from a pueblo, that you should have, you should know the stories just as they are in the BAE. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go to those things and do what they did. And the reason, now the more I think about it, that I don't have to, is because actually, I guess I really did, in a funny kind of way, through all those years, I guess from the time I was as little as Kaz all the way up, hear quite a few stories. Somewhere along the line, I heard in what would be passed off now as rumor or gossip, I could hear through all of that, I could hear something else too, and that's that there was a kind of a continuum or continuation, despite the fact that in 1930, Elsie Cluse Parsons wrote off Laguna as being a lost cause and said that it had no kiva or something. And the same went going for the in quotes oral tradition. I guess somewhere along the line, I always loved those kinds of stories so much that the things in the BAE sort of looked dead and alien, and I figured, I don't know, I couldn't do anything with them anyway, even though theoretically they're supposed to have come from here, All around Laguna, all around the different villages, and they were in their suit coats, and they would go up to the door with a turkey under one arm and a ham under the other, and they would knock on the door, these guys, Cam, I'm your state representative from Valencia County, and if you'll vote for me, won't you? And he said, if you will, you can have your choice, one of these, and he said, all you have to do is just promise to vote for me. I'm, and this is my platform, and what would you like to have, a turkey or ham? And so the people would say, oh, well, I guess I'll have a turkey. And then they would, and then he said, are you going to vote for me? And they, oh, yes, and then they close the door. And then they thaw it out, and it's thawed out and cooking right about that, next week when it's election day, and everyone's just eating turkeys and saying, laughing about how it was they got a hold of a turkey. Yeah, this is the turkey that man,
Didn't even know his name.
That Mexican man came, said we're supposed to vote for him, They'd eat some more and say, yeah, today, as a matter of fact, and tear off another part of it. Just laugh. Okay, well, I'll just do this one last one since we've been here all afternoon. This is Thrush, a Laguna Coyote story for Simon Ortiz. Part 1. In the wintertime at night, we tell coyote stories and drink spaniata by the stove. How Coyote got his ratty old fur coat, bits of old fur the sparrows stuck on him, bits of old fur the sparrows stuck on him with dabs of pitch. That was after he lost his proud original one in a poker game. Anyhow, things like that are always happening to him. Well, that's what she said. Anyway. And it happened to him at Laguna and Chinle and at Lucachucay too, because Coyote got too smart for his own good. Part 2. But the Navajos say he won a contest once. It was to see who could sleep out in a snowstorm the longest. And Coyote waited until Chipmunk, Badger, and Skunk were all curled up under the snow. And then he uncovered himself and slept all night inside. And before morning, he got up and went out again and waited until the others got up before he came in to take the prize. Part 3. Some white men came to Acoma in Laguna 100 years ago, and they fought over Acoma land and Laguna women. And even now, some of their descendants are howling in the hills southeast of Laguna. 4. Charlie Coyote wanted to be governor, and he said that when he got elected, he would run the other men off the reservation and keep all the women for himself. 5. One year, the politicians got fancy at Laguna. They went door to door with hams and turkeys, and they gave them to anyone who promised to vote for them. On election day, all the people stayed home and ate turkey and laughed. 6. The Transwestern Pipeline vice president came over to discuss right-of-way. The Lagunas let him wait all day long because he is a busy and important man. And late in the afternoon, they told him to come back again tomorrow. 7. They were after the picnic food that the special dancers left down below the cliff. And Tush and his cousins hung themselves down over the cliff, holding each other's tail in their mouth, making a coyote chain, until someone in the middle farted, and the guys behind him opened his mouth. The guy behind him opened his mouth to say, "What stinks?" And they all went tumbling down like that, howling and roaring. Thus scattered white people out of bars all over Wisconsin. He bumped into them at the door until they said, "Excuse me." And the way Simon meant it was for 300 or maybe 400 years. So that's... With the coyote story, I wrote it after I came back from Wisconsin, and I had some other things in there. At first, it started out to be something just about Simon and about that writers' conference back in Wisconsin. And then I started remembering all these other things. There's one way you deal with a coyote story. See, the way I deal with it in Tush, you can strip it down to just the bare details. And the way that piece is structured, the rest of the episodes of Coyote give you the kind of background that you need to have for Coyote. All of the different parts work together so that one piece can stand in its sort of bare bones state by itself. But the way that I have to tell the Coyote story to the kids is very different. And it takes a lot more time, and it takes a lot more space. And it's a lot more fun, too. Red chili stew, he saw some tortillas, he saw all these things, and he thought to himself, boy, this would be really good. One problem, how am I going to get down there? All that good food down there, and I'm getting so hungry. And just about that time, he heard the sound of bells and rattles, and then he realized that food just wasn't down there all by itself, but that the special dancers were down there, and the reason they had the food down there was for the rehearsal. They have to practice the dance, and they brought the food to eat afterwards, and he was peeking over, way over the edge, and he was peeking over he was making sure they didn't see him, because if they saw him, they would know that their picnic lunch was in danger. So he started calling his brothers and sisters and his cousins, and he went, "Oh, oh, oh, oh." And of course, all the other coyotes, they heard him, and they answered, and they go, "Oh, oh." But they were coming. So they came pretty soon. A whole bunch of other coyotes came trotting up to the edge of this big high mesa, and Coyote said, "Come on, you guys, hurry up, hurry up." And he said, "Now, be real quiet. Be real quiet." He said, "Now, come over here to the edge, get down on your bellies now, and crawl up real careful."
So they did. They got right to the edge and they